helping you build a brighter future.
We set a ceiling on who and what we can be. I think that was a huge part of the buy-in from our players. Good teams continue to get better. Our best football is still out in front of us. We got to go chase that.
Orange and White Nation, sponsored by Food City.
We're all things Vols tonight ahead of our big college football playoff matchup against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of Orange and White Nation. I'm Sports Director Kenny Hawkins.
And I'm Terry Craig. It's the first time the Vols will be vying for the title in the playoff era. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the Big Orange got here.
It all started in the spring. Nico was tapped as the signal caller for this season after a strong showing in the bowl game last year. That game ended with a win against Iowa.
And this season was as strong as it can get for the Vols. Big wins against Bama, Florida, and NC State on a neutral site. These wins kept the Vols ranked high in polls all season long.
Terry, but the Vols had woes on the road. A tough loss to the Georgia Bulldogs and a loss to Arkansas. It's fair to say that loss is why they're on the road tomorrow in Columbus.
Well, Kenny, now we're here with the Vols set to play one of their biggest games ever in their history. Kenny, this is going to be a real big one for the Vols, right?
It is going to be a big one, but you know what? I think Tennessee every year treats every bowl game, and I'm going to call this a bowl game, okay?
Okay.
All right, this is what it is. I know it's the college football playoffs. It doesn't have a bowl name, but it's a bowl game, okay? Because as long as you get to play in the postseason, that's the way you're going to treat it. Tennessee always comes out and treats it like it's a Super Bowl, and they're going to have to do that tomorrow night.
And I'll tell you what, it has been fantastic during the Heupel era. A lot of success, and a lot of success for the quarterbacks under Heupel. So let's talk a little bit about those quarterbacks as well.
The quarterbacks will be in the spotlight. First-year starter Nico Imaliava has 2,500 pass yards on the season. He's looked good in the team's 10 wins and the big win against Alabama. On the other end, Will Howard will be taking snaps for the Buckeyes. He's completing 72% of his passes this season. What may separate the two is the lines in front of them. Will Howard was sacked 10 times this season. Nico was on the ground 24 times. Here's Nico talking about what he needs to do as he gets more experience as a leader of the offense.
Just taking control of the offense more. As a young guy, I still, can do better at doing that. And yeah, man, I think just me having full command of the offense, knowing what our coaches want, knowing what we want on certain plays and, certain down and distances is what I think I've been working on.
All right, Kenny, tell me, what's going to be the difference between these two signal callers tomorrow?
Here's the thing. Ohio State's going to do everything they can to take Dylan Sampson out of the game.
Yes.
Okay? And I know Tennessee fans don't want to hear this, but they're going to try their best to make Nico beat them in the air. Now, keep in mind, Ohio State has some of the best defensive backs in the country.
Yeah.
All right?
So, yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you some good news for the Vols, though. I mean, Nico has improved each and every week. I know that, plenty of fans were a little nervous after showing, at Arkansas. But each week he has steadily improved. Now, that is if the offensive line can keep him on his feet.
That's the key thing, is that Ohio State has a massive defensive line. Tennessee's offensive line has been inconsistent this year. They will have to be consistent on Saturday night. As for Howard, he has his problems too, okay? Yeah. They're going to have to be able to run the football. They're not able to run the football as well behind their huge offensive line. He's going to have to put it in the air as well, and Tennessee will have to take advantage of that. But they have some really talented wide receivers.
And we have seen the Buckeyes lost not too long ago at home to Michigan, so they might not be as strong as we think. However, their record a different story. Of course, those Buckeyes, they will be a tall task for the Vols. Recency bias will turn our heads to the Buckeyes' loss at home to Michigan a few weeks ago. But Ohio State does have big wins against Penn State and the Indiana Hoosiers. Will Howard, who we just spoke about, had his best passing day on the road in a loss against #1 ranked Oregon. Here's Coach Heupel talking about the Buckeyes at the big game.
The little bit I've had an opportunity to watch, via the season as a Saturday afternoon, you're watching football, or today getting a chance to digest the tape. This is, a roster that's full of elite players and coached extremely well. They're smart, they're tough, they're physical, both sides of the line of scrimmage, and do a great job on special teams too.
And Kenny, just a quick question on the Buckeyes. Just how good are they?
Well, we're about to find out. I mean, we can't measure this Buckeye team from Michigan and Indiana, okay?
Exactly.
They have played some really good football at times this year. Now, here's the thing. When you're Ohio State, you're expected to win a national championship every year. Obviously, that has not happened, and they have their problems with Michigan. You have to wonder, will there be a hangover? Let's be honest.
Expectations are big.
That's right. So that loss to Michigan, I mean, some of the Wolves are already knocking at the door for Ryan Day's head. So I don't know if he loses this game, especially if he loses bad, how long he'll be there.
And I'll say expectations are a big thing for Ohio State. You know, the fans of the Ohio State University have big expectations going each and every year, and they frankly are just not going to accept a loss against Michigan. So I feel like it all depends on how they respond against the Vols. But I'll tell you this, Kenny, a big factor of who might silence the Ohio State Buckeyes, that's going to be Dylan Sampson.
Well, you got that right. A big part of the Vols' game plan will likely be centered around, as he mentioned it, starred running back Dylan Sampson. Sampson was named the AP and Coach's SEC Player of the Year after breaking several rushing records at the school, nearly 1,500 yards and 22 touchdowns for Sampson on the season. He was pivotal in the win against Alabama, rushing for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. If you're a Buckeye fan, he's the guy that you're focusing on stopping.
I don't even know if I have the right words to describe D. Sampson and what he means to our team, just as a player and as a leader. I don't know if anybody's played the position better than he has this year. He's special. He's dynamic. Plays great without the ball in his hands. And talk about guy when the ball is in his hands, making things happen.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't know who votes on the Doak Walker, but you missed it.
Yeah, they missed it. They missed it. That's
Come
him.
on now.
That's him right there. So, Katie, I'll tell you what. How do you stop Dylan Sampson?
Here's the thing with Dylan. Great runner. And it's hard to stop him, especially if the offensive line is clicking. The biggest problem is him holding on to the football. Okay. Let's just be honest. And they're going to key on Sampson a lot. As I mentioned earlier in the show, that's the guy that they need to take out if you're Ohio State. And then you got to force Nico to beat you with the throw. I mean, they're confident in their defensive front that's going to go up against Tennessee's offensive line. Dylan Sampson, he's hard. He's a beast. One of the things that Ohio State has been weak against sometimes this season is running the ball up the middle. Look for him to go in between the tackles a lot this weekend.
And I'll tell you what, for all those Vols fans at home, if you're having your tailgates tomorrow and you're surrounded by Ohio State fans, so they want to say, how do you stop Dylan Sampson? Here's your answer. You don't. He's that good. But let's move on. The Vols won't have to look too far to find some weaknesses in the Buckeyes. In their most recent loss to Michigan, the Wolverines kept it on the ground, gushing the Buckeyes defense with 172 yards. I bet Dylan Sampson, he is excited about that stat right there. 172 yards on the ground, that is, and controlling the clock. Offense was a struggle for the home side. Will Howard didn't break 200 passing yards and threw the ball to the other team twice.
You know, here's the thing. It's obvious that the Buckeyes are a strong team, but as we saw twice this year, they're certainly beatable. How can the Vols take advantage?
I mean, honestly, I feel like if Nico can step up, and obviously as we've been talking, you know, Dylan Sampson, I mean, I feel like that he's going to be excited about that stat that we just said. I mean, what, only 2 games this season where he did not get 100 rushing yards on the ground. So I feel like Dylan Sampson is going to be really excited to face that Ohio State matchup, particularly how they play against Michigan last week.
I agree with you, but the person I need excited are them big hogs up front.
There you go.
Okay, because he ain't going nowhere if the offensive line doesn't do their part.
That's true.
Okay, I don't need, once again, a game on the road and Hurd jumping offside 3 times. You can't have that. I mean, this is where I think Mays will step up. He needs to calm these guys down, and they need to create holes for Dylan Sampson.
Okay, and I'll tell you that what, later on in the Sportscast, we are going to talk a little bit more about the weather outside and how the Vols have performed on the road as well.
You're taking a live look in Columbus where the Vols are gearing up to get their playoff journey underway. What kind of weather should the Vols be preparing for up north? Meteorologist Garrett Sellers will have that game day forecast right after the break.
The best Irish fish and chips in 100 miles. Live music weekly and a traditional Irish experience at Mulligan's Irish Pub, downtown Johnson City. Meet old friends and make new friends. mulligansirish.com.
At Marathon Quick Stop Markets, it's our goal to make your experience a great one. Quick Stop Markets provide sanitized and clean stores, well-lit parking lots, a friendly staff, and a large selection of products. Thank you for choosing Marathon, an American-owned company. Thank you for choosing Quick Stop Markets, a locally owned company. It is an honor to be a part of your busy day. Stop in at a locally owned Marathon Quick Stop Market today, where we make it easy to run in when you run out.
Food. It makes the holidays merrier. 'Tis the season for the freshest produce, the highest quality cuts of meat, and more. Nobody does food or the holidays like Food City.
This week, save on spiral sliced ham, $1.49 a pound when you spend $25 on store brand items. Russet potatoes, 10 pounds, $2.99. Lay's potato chips, Mayfield ice cream, or Libby's vegetables, buy one, get one free, and more.
Value everyday, Food City. 'Tis the season of love, and the perfect symbol of love is a diamond engagement ring from Bowman Jewelers.
Bowman Jewelers will make this holiday one to remember. Let us help you find the ring of her dreams.
We are Santa's #1 diamond connection straight from the North Pole. We have all the styles and selection you desire for the ring of your dreams.
Now remember,
your season of love starts at Bowman Jewelers.
Ho, ho, ho.
We were doing the fall tune-up, and after 20 years, they were just wore out. After many estimates and folks coming out, we decided to go with Kingsport Heating and Air. They have been in the business for 34 years. The techs were very knowledgeable, friendly, made us feel confident that we were making the right decision. I would recommend Kingsport Heating and Air to everyone.
Carrier, turn to the experts. Kingsport Heating and Air.
And remember, we're not comfortable until you are.
At Eastman Credit Union, we believe in standing by our members and neighbors. During this giving season, I'm excited to announce ECU's extraordinary dividend will be shared with members to thank you for your business. It's also a time of year to help others. That's why ECU is donating $1 million to Appalachia Service Project to support rebuilding efforts in our communities hardest hit by Hurricane Helene. Giving back, that's what it means to have ECU beside you.
The best Irish fish and chips in 100 miles. Live music weekly and a traditional Irish experience at Mulligan's Irish Pub, downtown Johnson City. Meet old friends and make new friends. mulligansirish.com.
Now, Storm Team 11 meteorologist Jared Sellers.
All right, there's been a lot of talk about how cold it's going to be out there for the Vols versus the Buckeyes going in towards the night hours for your Saturday. And it's actually that cold air finally starting to move in and towards portions of Columbus. So let's take a look at those current conditions out towards Columbus, Ohio right now. Current temperature outside at 36 degrees, so kind of similar to what our temperature is out there right now. Dew point at 36 degrees, so humidity 100% right now. And that wind chill at 27 degrees. Winds out of the north at about 15 miles per hour. Now, here's that Saturday forecast for all those tailgaters out there in the morning hours. I put that is not temperature on the very far, at least my right side, maybe your left side right there. That is wind chill. Wind chill factors are going to be into the teens and the lower 20s out there tomorrow. So definitely going to be cold, at least through the tailgating process, even through all the way out to the evening hours as well. Now, clouds will be around across most of the region, and those winds are going to be breezy as well, anywhere between 15 to 20 miles per hour. So it's going to be breezy out there across the region. Now, here's that playoff forecast. At game time kickoff, temperatures are going to be into the 20s, mid-20s. Going to feel like 17. Going to hold on to those 20s throughout most of the game. I'd say for Tennessee football, they got a good running attack. Not a lot of throwing is going to be happening. It's looking like it's going to be, I'm thinking about picking Tennessee at this point because, like I said, it's going to be cold out there, guys. And temperatures, when it's cold, you can't throw the ball as much, and Tennessee's got a really good running attack.
Well, you said you think you're taking Tennessee, so tell us, who are you going to take? You pick a side, Jared.
Well, you guys were just telling me Tennessee wasn't that good on the road, but I'm still sticking with the Vols, I think. They got a really good running attack, and I think they're going to take it in probably 21-17, very close game.
So you don't think the weather's going to play a factor?
Or it will, at least throwing the football. Now, Ohio State has a really good throwing attack. They got some of the best wide receivers in the country, but when it's cold outside, it's very hard to kind of throw the football and also catch the football, and that's usually when teams start to run the football more, and now Tennessee's got a really good running attack, so that's why I'm thinking I'm going to pick the Vols 21-17.
Right. Jared, thank you so much. And I'll tell you what, it gets cold on Rocky Top too, but the Vols, we playing in temperatures that they haven't seen all season. It hasn't been smooth sailing for the Vols on the road all this year. A loss on the road at Georgia and and a loss on the road at Arkansas this season. The Vols put less than 20 points on the board in each of those games. Surely the Vols be confident against any opponent anywhere, but it's hard to ignore their record on the road.
Yeah, it's a June day in South Dakota. It's going to be great football weather. You know, a couple of weeks ago we played in 30-degree weather. We practiced in the morning, still chill. You know, as cold as it will be around this area, and at the end of the day, you know, you get between the white lines. Weather doesn't matter. You know, the temperature doesn't, and we'll be ready to go play.
Kenny, have you ever spent a June day in South Dakota?
Yes, I have, with just a T-shirt on. Okay?
So does it get cold? Does it get cold like it is in Columbus?
Don't get a visual of that, okay? No, I have not had a June day in South Dakota. But I like what the coach says. He's used to that kind of weather. It's really about how you prepare mentally for that type of weather and how you dress. And I think that's how Tennessee is going to prepare for this contest. Look, it gets cold on Rocky Top, okay?
Yeah,
maybe not as cold in Columbus. We compared the numbers. They're pretty similar, okay? I think their temperature was 1 degree colder or 4 degrees colder than it was in Knoxville. So it's nothing that Tennessee is not going to be used to.
I feel like the weather has been talked about a little too much. I know that Nico is from Southern California, but that's not going to bother him. As we mentioned, it does get cold on Rocky Top. However, I do think the Vols do want to reverse their luck on the road. Obviously, loss against Georgia, loss against Arkansas, that frankly, did not allow them to, host this playoff game. Yeah. But I feel like, with Dylan Sampson, run the ball, control a game, I don't feel like that they're going to be leaning too much on Nico. I feel like it's going to be a Dylan Sampson type ball game.
I agree. Nico says he's played in cold and snow one time 7-on-7 in New York. We'll see if
he'll be just fine.
Coming up, we're about 24 hours away from kickoff. We'll hear how the Vols are preparing for the big game and a live report from Columbus. And take a look at how this could be the biggest season for the Vols since 1998. I remember that year I was there. It was a good year. We'll be right back.
Marco's Pizza serves the tastiest, freshest, and hottest pizza bowls, wings, subs, and salads in the Tri-Cities. And we offer delivery, curbside pickup, and carryout. You know you want to call us in Johnson City across from ETSU.
'Twas a few months before Christmas, and all through the town, elves were getting anxious because Frankie, Santa, was down. More than 40 years he has been Santa's helper. Now a bad hip was making him suffer. To Watauga Orthopedics, Santa would go to receive expert care that we've all come to know. From consult to surgery and therapy too, the team at Watauga helped his hip feel brand new. Now with a twinkle in his eye and a sack full of toys, Santa is off to spread Christmas joy. Merry Christmas from Watauga Orthopedics.
Food. It makes the holidays merrier. 'Tis the season for the freshest produce, the highest quality cuts of meat, and more. Nobody does food or the holidays like Food City.
This week, save on spiral sliced ham, $1.49 a pound when you spend $25 on store brand items. Russet potatoes, 10 pounds, $2.99. Lay's potato chips, Mayfield ice cream, or Libby's vegetables, buy one, get one free, and more.
Value every day, Food City.
We're your friends and family. We're your neighbors. We're your local service experts. We know life happens, whether it's your heating and cooling, electrical, or a plumbing problem. When things don't go right, State Line Services is here for your home, your business, and most importantly, for you. For the gold standard in home services, trust State Line every time.
Welcome to Valley Forge Wholesale, where we have something for everyone.
We have top brand name closeouts, overstocks, and liquidations below wholesale prices. Everything from toys to beauty supplies. You have to see it to believe it. Shop us often so you don't miss out. If you see it today, you better grab it because it may not be here tomorrow. New items are delivered daily, so make sure you check us out weekly to see what's new.
New merchandise at Wholesale Prices. Crimson Popsicle and Save on Your Seal.
Decorations are already up, and Christmas music is playing early. You can feel the eagerness for time spent with family. More than ever, we're all excited for the magic of the holiday season. From all of us at Dempsey's Jewelers, we would like to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas. When you give the gift of jewelry, we are here ready to help you. May God bless you and keep you safe this holiday season.
Marco's Pizza serves the tastiest, freshest, and hottest pizza, pizza bowls, wings, subs, and salads in the Tri-Cities. And we offer delivery, curbside pickup, and carryout. You know you want to call us in Johnson City across from ETSU.
Anticipation is building as the Tennessee Vols are looking for its first national championship since 1998.
The Big Orange is ready to take over the shoe up in Columbus and make history. Reese Van Haften and Casey Kay with our sister station made the trek to Columbus. They join us live with more on how Josh Heupel has his team ready. You guys look like you've been with the Rock and guarding the red one. I mean, man, they got to the toboggan and everything.
Yeah, cold.
Exactly.
Hey, Kenny, you have no idea. You can see my breath right now, just like Josh Heupel has breathed life back into this Tennessee football program. The Vols have been national title contenders 2 out of the last 3 seasons he's been here.
Yeah, the Vols have now a chance with the college football playoff format changing up the make a run at that national title, something that Tennessee fans haven't been able to talk about since 1998.
Despite the struggles before Heupel took over, this is not a celebration for the Vols this year. Tennessee is ready to take care of business. Just ask the players.
Because Coach Hype and the staff, the coaches, everybody in the building has done a great job of, man, setting the goals, setting the mission for us. And I feel like the leaders on the team has done a great job just reiterating it to all the guys and things like that. So, man, everybody's just dialed in, ready to complete the mission, attack the mission. And we see how far we done came, so we was like, why stop? You know what I'm saying? So we're just excited and dialed into everything they installed into us since January 1st.
The players have reiterated time and time again that they're trying to keep this game just like every single other one that has happened this season.
But of course, they understand the magnitude of this one. A lot's on the line. You win this one, you go to a lot warmer place in California, in Pasadena, for the Rose Bowl to face Oregon. And nobody understands the magnitude of this game more than Kenny, because he was alive. He's seen it all billion years of Tennessee football. Kenny, how big is the magnitude of this one?
I know it. I know it. I told you they were cooking up something. I knew it. I was already 12 years in when they played that game in '98. Okay, let you guys know. All right, thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah. This is a moment that Tennessee fans have been waiting for a very long time.
1998, of course, is a year that many Vol fans remember pretty well. That was the year I was born as well. It put the cap on some of the greatest years the school has ever experienced.
For the older Vols, those times are cherished memories that you're hoping to recreate. For the young folks, that success is something you're hoping to rekindle and get a taste of. Regardless, this Vols team is hungry for success. Head coach Josh Heupel has his team ready to take that next step.
This is, everything we worked for in the offseason. This was what we expected. This is what we grinded for, and, it doesn't stop now. Like, this wasn't the goal to just get to this game. There's a lot more games we got left to play, but we got to attack it the right way.
We understand what big games look like, what they feel like, the type of environments that you're going to play in. Certainly understand playing great opponents and, the preparation, I think they have a great understanding of, and then the competitive makeup that you have to have when you get to game day.
Coming up, we'll let you know everything you need to know about the big game. Now it's time for Terry and myself to let you know who we think will win it. We'll have those predictions right after the break.
It's here, the year-end clearance event at Friendship. All 2024 models must go. When they're gone, they're gone. The clock is ticking, and these deals won't last. Hurry in for the year-end clearance event at Friendship Hyundai of Bristol and Johnson City.
We're dealing. The season of Christmas, gift-giving, and goodwill is upon us. Impress everyone this year with unique quality brand name gifts that last generations. Lullaby Lane always has a vast assortment of top brand name clothing and for newborn and toddlers. Come in and see our newest large selection of seasonal items for this holiday season. Dress to impress this Christmas with top brand name children's clothing. Have a Merry Christmas from all of us at Lullaby Lane, unique boutique in Johnson City.
Driving a race car takes skill, experience, and determination to be the best and win. At Phil's Heating and Air, we use our professional skills, experience, and determination to win our customers' trust and save them money. Act now and get an $800 TVA and a $2,000 government rebate on select Amana systems.
If you were affected by the recent storm and flooding, for a limited time, we are offering a $0 call-out fee.
Be a part of the winning team.
At Phil's Heating and Air, we knock out the competition.
Food. It makes the holidays merrier. 'Tis the season for the freshest produce, the highest quality cuts of meat, and more. Nobody does food or the holidays like Food City.
This week, save on spiral sliced ham, $1.49 a pound when you spend $25 on store brand items. Russet potatoes, 10 pounds, $2.99. Lay's potato chips, Mayfield ice cream, or Libby's vegetables, buy one, get one free, and more.
Absolute Granite and Cabinetry is your one-stop for kitchen and bath. We can turn your ideas into the kitchen and bath of your dreams. For both new construction and remodeling, we offer one of the largest selections of granite, marble, quartz, and quartzite with over 70 colors in stock that can be custom cut and polished to your specifications. Absolute also has a wide selection of semi-custom cabinetry that fit your decor and budget. Enjoy your kitchen and bath like never before with the help of Absolute Granite and Cabinetry.
Hey Santa, it's great to see you back again.
Christmas shopping is not complete without a trip to Bowman Jewelers.
We have the hottest trends. We're talking layers, ladies. Stackable bracelets, layered necklaces, and even multiple earrings are all back.
We have the greatest gifts from here to the North Pole. Like this season's biggest trend, our inside-out diamond hoops.
The celebration is huge, going on now
here at Bowman Jewelers.
Ho, ho, ho!
It's here, the year-end clearance event at Friendship. All 2024 models must go. When they're gone, they're gone. The clock is ticking, and these deals won't last. Hurry in for the year-end clearance event at Friendship Hyundai of Bristol and Johnson City.
We're dealing.
Let's hope we hear Rocky Top a lot, because if that happens, that means Tennessee is scoring.
Good old Rocky Top.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Wait, don't forget the woo.
Yeah.
Don't forget the woo. Okay.
Woo.
We've given you all that you need to know ahead of the big game. Now it's time for us to tell you who we think will win the game. Terry?
Kenny, I'll start with you. You know, you're a proud East Tennessean, big Vols fan, so what do you think? This is a tightly contested matchup. Kind of walk me through your score.
Well, you know, I think both teams have a lot on the line. Obviously, you want to go to the next step, take on the #1 team in the country, and then hopefully win that and move into an opportunity for a championship. I think Tennessee's defense has to step up in this contest, which they've done a great job this year. I think Tennessee wins a very close, low-scoring game, 20-17.
All right, I'll tell you this, Kenny. Okay. You know, I was born and bred a South Carolina Gamecock.
He's a Gamecock.
I think that's been very established. But today, I'm all Vols. I'm singing Rocky Top.
Wow.
Rocky Top 21-14, 3 touchdowns for Dylan Sampson. They are going to stop the Buckeyes at home. The Vols, they will win in cold weather. I'm all Vols.
I can't believe I got that orange tie around his neck. It's choking him.
Hey,
right
don't show
now.
this to my mom. Don't show this to my mama.
I'm going to hold this over you. I got you now.
Well, hey, you know, thank you so much for watching the special edition of Orange White Nation.
You can watch the Vols take on the Buckeyes tomorrow on ABC Tri-Cities at 8.
Are you unhappy with your IRA, CD, or fixed annuity? Call Mears & Associates to discuss ideas that will help your money grow.
Food. It makes the holidays merry.
Valley Forge Wholesale, where we have something for everyone.
We have top brand name closeouts, overstocks, and liquidations below wholesale prices. Everything from toys to beauty supplies. You have to see it to believe it. Shop us often so you don't miss out. If you see it today, you better grab it because it may not be here tomorrow. New items are delivered daily, so make sure you check us out weekly to see what's new.
New merchandise at Wholesale Prices. Crimson Pop's gonna save on your sale.
Connect with News Channel 11 and follow us on Instagram.
Never set a ceiling on who and what we can be. I think that was a huge part of the buy-in from our players. Good teams continue to get better. Our best football is still out in front of us. We got to go chase that.
Orange and White Nation, sponsored by Food City.
Hello, everybody. We're all Vols tonight ahead of their big college football playoff matchup against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of Orange and White Nation. I'm Sports Director Kenny Hawkins.
And I'm Terry Craig. Kenny, is going to be a fun one. It's the first time the Vols be vying for the title in the playoff era. Let's go ahead and see how Big Orange got here.
It all started in the spring. Nico was tapped as a signal caller for this season after a strong showing in the bowl game last year. That game ended with a win against Iowa.
And this season was as strong as it can get for the Vols. Big wins this season against Bama, Florida, and NC State. That, of course, was on a neutral site. These wins kept them high in the polls all season long.
But the Vols had woes on the road. A tough loss to the Georgia Bulldogs and a loss to Arkansas. It's fair to say that loss is why they're on the road tomorrow in Columbus.
Now we are here with the Vols set to play one of its biggest games ever in its history. Kenny, of course, this is going to be a big one for the Tennessee Vols.
Huge game. You know, you take a look at the first round of the college football playoff games, and to be honest with you, I think this is the biggest game of them all, okay? I mean, no disrespect to anybody else at Clemson and Texas and all of this, and Indiana and North Carolina. No, I think this is the biggest game that will be played in the first round.
It will be a very big game. Obviously, Ohio State has the pedigree. Tennessee has the pedigree. Josh Heupel is getting these guys and this program exactly where they want to be. And honestly, Kenny, it's starting to feel a little bit like 1998.
Well, you know what? It's really surprising. I'm going to be honest that these two teams have only played twice.
Yep.
And I was at the first one. It was at the Citrus Bowl, and it was raining cats and dogs. And after the game, Ohio State said, well, Tennessee had on the long cleats, and that's the reason why they were able to stay upright. I don't know if that was the case, but I do remember that game.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kenny, the quarterbacks are going to be a big topic of discussion in this ball game.
They will be. I mean, the quarterbacks will be in the spotlight. First-year starter Nico Imaliava has 2,500 passing yards on the season. He's looked good in the team's 10 wins and a big one, against Alabama. On the other end, Will Howard will be taking snaps for the Buckeyes. He's completing 72% of his passes this season. What may separate the two is the lines in front of him. Will Howard has been sacked 10 times this season. Nico was on the ground 24 times. Here's Nico talking about what he needs to do as he gets more experience as a leader of the offense.
Just taking control of the offense more. You know, as a young guy, I still, you know, can do better at doing that. And yeah, man, I think just me having full command of the offense, knowing what our coaches want, knowing what we want on certain plays and, you know, certain down and distances is what I think I've been working on.
Of course, Kenny, these are two really good quarterbacks. What's going to be the difference between these two signal callers tomorrow?
Well, two different guys, okay? I mean, there are a lot of similarities, but really two different guys. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tennessee has a host of great wide receivers. I mean, he throws it around, okay? He does. But then on the other side, you take a look at the Buckeyes, they might have two of the best wide receivers in the country, you know?
Right, wide receiver U, as they call it.
Exactly, and Will Howard loves to put the ball in the air. Now, whether he will be able to do that, well, he's used to it. It's his weather. You know, some quarterbacks can't throw in the cold weather, they say. I'm not going to mention any names, but they used to say Tom Brady. But anyway, but you say he can throw in the cold. But here's the thing, that guy's used to throwing in the cold, and he'll throw it around again tomorrow.
You know, I'll tell you what, the key for Nico, as I said in the stat, keep him on his feet. He can't throw if he's on the ground, so that will be the key to him. But of course, Buckeyes, a very good team. They will be a tall task for the Vols. Now, recency bias will turn our heads to the Buckeyes' loss a few weeks ago at home to Michigan. But Ohio State does have big wins against Penn State and those Indiana Hoosiers. Will Howard, who we just spoke about, had his best passing day on the road in a loss against #1 ranked Oregon. Here's Coach Heupel talking about the Buckeyes ahead of the big game.
The little bit I've had an opportunity to watch, via the season as a Saturday afternoon, you're watching football, or today getting a chance to digest the tape. This is, a roster that's full of elite players and coached extremely well. They're smart, they're tough, they're physical, both sides of the line of scrimmage, and do a great job on special teams too.
Kenny, the Buckeyes have a lot of pedigree, so a quick question. Just how good is this Buckeyes team?
Well, if you look at them against Michigan and Indiana, you're going to say they're just about average. Everybody else on the schedule, they have been fantastic this year. I mean, this is a team every year when we get started, this is a team that's supposed to win a national championship.
Exactly.
Okay, just going to a bowl game is not enough for them. So they know this part of the season, and which they'll be ready.
And a lot of people forget, too, those two teams that they did beat, Penn State, Indiana, they're in the college football playoff, too.
Exactly.
So Ohio State's record does speak for themselves. However, I do think that the Volunteers are coming in with the game plan. I feel like they're going to lean heavy on Dylan Sampson, and I feel like that they will be able to go toe-to-toe against Ohio State and be able to, get out a win. But, hey, as I said on Dylan Sampson, he's going to be a big part of the game plan.
You're right. A big part of the Vols will likely be centered around, as what Terry said, the running back, Dylan Sampson. Sampson was named the AP and Coach's SEC Player of the Year after breaking several rushing records at the school. Nearly 1,500 yards and 22 touchdowns for Sampson on the season. He was pivotal in the win against Alabama, rushing for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. If you're a Buckeye fan, he's a guy that you're focusing on stopping.
I don't even know if I have the right words to describe D. Sampson and what he means to our team, just as a player and as a leader. I don't know if anybody's played the position better than he has this year. He's special, he's dynamic, plays great without the ball in his hands, and talk about a guy when the ball is in his hands, making things happen.
Kenny, Dylan Sampson, he has just about every award that you could possibly win. Offensive player.
Except one. I mean, as you know, I have a Heisman vote. I don't have a Doak Walker vote, but I need to get on that committee.
Yeah,
because
we got
somebody missed it. I'm not going to say he should have won it, obviously, when you got Janty in, but he should have been in the discussion. That's hard to believe.
Exactly. A question, how do you stop him? How do you stop him?
Well,
if you stop him,
well,
can you stop him?
If you stop him. First of all, Sampson's got to hold on to the football. He's had problems this year holding on. I think he has 4 or 5 fumbles so far this season. So if he's able to do that, then you need to get him up between the tackles. And that means Tennessee's offensive line has got to come and play. If they're not opening up any holes, then they're going to turn this into a one-direction football game, and that will be throwing for Nico.
Sampson, I feel like, if the big boys up front are able to block for him, I feel like he's going to be able to find those holes up front. I mean, only 2 games where he didn't rush for 100 yards this season. So, honestly, I feel like Sampson, he's going to be able to find a way through the Buckeyes defense. And, hey, the Vols, they won't have to look too far to find some weaknesses in those Buckeyes. In their most recent loss to Michigan, the Wolverines, they kept it on the ground, gushing the Buckeyes defense with 172 yards on the ground. That's a stat Dylan Sampson is loving. The Wolverines are able to control the clock as well against the Buckeyes. Offense, of course, was a struggle for the home side. Will Howard didn't break 200 yards passing and threw to the maize and blue 2 times. Not supposed to do that, Kenny.
No, you're not supposed to do that. I mean, it's obvious that the Buckeyes are a strong team, but as we saw twice this year, they're certainly beatable. How can the Vols take advantage of this Buckeyes team?
I think that there are holes in the Buckeyes team. I feel like James Pierce is also going to be the X factor. If he can get to Will Howard has only hit the ground 10 times, only sacked 10 times. So I feel like if James Pierce can get in that backfield, I feel like he can rattle that Ohio State offense.
Yeah, you're going to have to rattle the cage. You're right. If you allow him to get back there and get too comfortable in that offense, then it's going to be a long day for Tennessee all afternoon. So, yeah, you're right. You're going to have to rattle the cage. I think Pierce is probably going to have to play one of his better games. I agree with you. I think Tennessee's defensive backs, I don't know if they're going to go one-on-one. We saw that the last time against Georgia. We know what happened in that contest. So I don't know how they're going to play defense. Ohio State with their offensive wide receivers.
Well, I'll tell you what, whether you're playing offense, defense, special teams, or a fan in the stadium, it is going to be cold out there, Kenny.
You got that right. You're taking a live look in Columbus, where the Vols are gearing up to get their playoff journey underway. What kind of weather should the Vols be preparing for up north? Meteorologist Jared Sellers will have that game day forecast right after the break.
The best Irish fish and chips in 100 miles. Live music weekly and a traditional Irish experience at Mulligan's Irish Pub, downtown Johnson City. Meet old friends and make new friends. mulligansirish.com.
Absolute Granite and Cabinetry is your one-stop for kitchen and bath. We can turn your ideas into the kitchen and bath of your dreams. For both new construction and remodeling, we offer one of the largest selections of granite, marble, quartz, and quartzite with over 70 colors in stock that can be custom cut and polished to your specifications. Absolute also has a wide selection of semi-custom cabinetry that fit your decor and budget. Enjoy your kitchen and bath like never before with the help of Absolute Granite and Cabinetry.
Welcome to Valley Forge Wholesale, where we have something for everyone.
We have top brand name closeouts, overstocks, and liquidations below wholesale prices. Everything from toys to beauty supplies. You have to see it to believe it. Shop us often so you don't miss out. If you see it today, you better grab it because it may not be here tomorrow. New items are delivered daily, so make sure you check us out weekly to see what's new.
New merchandise at Wholesale Plus. Camden Public School and St. William Seal.
Driving a race car takes skill, experience, and determination to be the best and win. At Phil's Heating and Air, we use our professional skills, experience, and determination to win our customers' trust and save them money. Act now and get an $800 TVA and a $2,000 government rebate on select Amana systems.
If you were affected by the recent storm and flooding, for a limited time, we are offering a $0 call-out fee.
Be a part of the winning team.
At Phil's Heating and Air, we knock out the competition.
The season of Christmas, gift giving, and goodwill is upon us. Impress everyone this year with unique quality brand name gifts that last generations. Lullaby Lane always has a vast assortment of top brand name clothing and accessories for newborn and toddlers. Come in and see our newest large selection of seasonal items for this holiday season. Dress to impress this Christmas with top brand name children's clothing. Have a Merry Christmas from all of us at Lullaby Lane, unique boutique in Johnson City.
Food. It makes the holidays merrier. 'Tis the season for the freshest produce, the highest quality cuts of meat, and more. Nobody does food or the holidays like Food City.
This week, save on spiral sliced ham, $1.49 a pound when you spend $25 on store brand items. Russet potatoes, 10 pounds, $2.99. Lay's potato chips, Mayfield ice cream, or Libby's vegetables, buy one, get one free, and more.
The best Irish fish and chips in 100 miles. Live music weekly and a traditional Irish experience at Mulligan's Irish Pub, downtown Johnson City. Meet old friends and make new friends. mulligansirish.com.
Now, Storm Team 11 meteorologist Jared Sellers.
All right, there's been a lot of talk out there about that forecast for the big game and how cold it's going to be. Obviously, it's cold here into the Tri-Cities, and it's going to be cold in Columbus. Current conditions at Columbus, Ohio right now, well, get a little bit of snowfall out there. It's snowing currently in Columbus, Ohio, with a temperature of 35 degrees currently outside. But check out that wind chill, 25. So that is going to be the main cause of issue, especially as we go into tomorrow and also in towards Sunday as well, as it's looking like those winds are going to hold at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. And I got wind chills along with this graphic right there. Check out those wind chills throughout the day. It's going to feel like 14 into the morning hours at 7 a.m. and then going throughout the afternoon, evening, going to feel right into the upper teens and lower 20s. So yes, it's going to be cold out there across most of your Saturday. And how about that game day forecast, or that game time forecast, I should say? Well, it's going to be even colder out there. Temperatures by kickoff are going to be into the mid-20s and then feeling like 17 at kickoff and not much changing at halftime. 23 degrees as the temperature temperature out there, 17, and then not much changing at the end of the game as well. So it's definitely going to be cold out there throughout most of the game as well. Now, I did some number crunching, guys, of comparing the game day almanac for each team, Tennessee and Ohio State. Thought it was interesting. Average high on game day forecast for Tennessee was at 74. Average high for Ohio State was 68 degrees. Difference of 6 degrees. Average low 50, and then 49 for Ohio State. Difference of 1. A difference, and even though it is going to be cold out there, I'd say both of them are definitely going to feel the effects, even though I'd say Ohio State has a very, very, very small advantage of the colder weather because it typically is colder in Columbus. But at this point, I'm still thinking that Tennessee is probably going to pull it out, even with how talented Ohio State is.
I like that. Jared crunching numbers, a meteorologist and a mathematician as well. But hey, can you pick football games? Who do you think's going to win?
Well, like I said, it is going to be cold out there, and we were talking about the running game. That's definitely going to play a big factor. Obviously, Tennessee's got a really good running back that should have been on those Walker Award nominations. So I'm picking Tennessee to win a close one, kind of like y'all, 21-17, probably 3 touchdowns by the running back for Tennessee, kind of like what you said, Terry.
He sounds like a Vol.
No, let's not go that far. Okay, it was tough for that Gator to get that out right then. Trust me.
Well, Jared, thank you so much. Man. And as Jared said, it does get cold on Rocky Top, but the Vols be playing in temperatures they haven't seen all season. I saw those teens out there. It hasn't been smooth sailing for the Vols on the road as well. A loss on the road at Georgia and a loss on the road at Arkansas this season. That, of course, was a tough one for the Vols. The Vols put less than 20 points on the board in each of those games. Surely the Vols will be confident against any opponent anywhere, but it's hard to ignore their record on the road.
Yeah, it's a June day in South Dakota. It's going to be great football weather. You know, a couple of weeks ago we played in 30-degree weather. We practiced in the morning, still chill. You know, as cold as it will be around this area, and at the end of the day, you know, white lines, weather doesn't matter. You know, the temperature doesn't, and we'll be ready to go play.
Kenny, so I hear in June you like to spend your time in South Dakota, right?
That's right. T-shirt. That's no fishing hole.
It's a good place to be.
Hey, you know what? You just find the right seat is perfect. Here's the thing. You know, we talked about the road woes for Tennessee. It's obvious. They have. Their losses this year, Georgia, Arkansas. You can't count Vanderbilt. Let's just be honest.
You can't count.
All right, 75% of the stadium is orange. So that worries me, is the fact that Tennessee has not played well on the road, and then couple that with the weather, it could make for a long afternoon.
You know, I think that the weather has been a little bit overplayed. You know, I know they say Nico, obviously from Southern California, but I feel like football weather's football weather. I mean, this is going to be the coldest weather that the Buckeyes have played in as well. So at the end of the day, it's neutral. It's neutral. I feel like both teams have to handle the weather, and I feel like the Vols are, you know, eager to turn their luck on the road.
Nico says he's played in cold and snow before, 7-on-7 one time in New York. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
See if that helps. Coming up, we're about 24 hours away from kickoff. We'll hear how the Vols are preparing for the big game and a live report from Columbus. And take a look how this could be the biggest season for the Vols since 1998. Man, it was a good year. We'll be right back.
Marco's Pizza serves the tastiest, freshest, and hottest pizza bowls, wings, subs, and salads in the Tri-Cities. And we offer delivery, curbside pickup, and carryout. You know you want to call us in Johnson City across from ETSU.
Food. It makes the holidays merrier. 'Tis the season for the freshest produce, the highest quality cuts of meat, and more. Nobody does food or the holidays like Food City.
This week, save on spiral sliced ham, $1.49 a pound when you spend $25 on store brand items. Russet potatoes, 10 pounds, $2.99. Lay's potato chips, Mayfield ice cream, or Libby's vegetables, buy one, get one free, and more.
At Eastman Credit Union, we believe in standing by our members and neighbors. During this giving season, I'm excited to announce ECU's extraordinary dividend will be shared with members to thank you for your business. It's also a time of year to help others. That's why ECU is donating $1 million to Appalachia Service Project to support rebuilding efforts in our communities hardest hit by Hurricane Helene. Giving back, that's what it means to have ECU beside you.
'Twas a few months before Christmas, and all through the town, elves were getting anxious because Frankie, Santa, was down. More than 40 years he has been Santa's helper. Now a bad hip was making him suffer. To Watauga Orthopedics, Santa would go to receive expert care that we've all come to know. From consult to surgery and therapy too. The team at Watauga helped his hip feel brand new. Now with a twinkle in his eye and a sack full of toys, Santa is off to spread Christmas joy. Merry Christmas from Watauga Orthopedics.
Coming out, we decided to go with Kingsport Heating and Air. They have been in the business for 34 years. The techs were very knowledgeable, friendly, made us feel confident that we were making the right decision. I would recommend Kingsport Heating and Air to everyone.
Carrier turns the experts, Kingsport Heating and Air.
And remember, we're not comfortable until you are.
Food. It makes the holidays merrier. 'Tis the season for the freshest produce, the highest quality cuts of meat, and more. Nobody does food or the holidays like Food City.
This week, save on spiral sliced ham, $1.49 a pound when you spend $25 on store brand items. Russet potatoes, 10 pounds, $2.99. Lay's potato chips, Mayfield ice cream, or Libby's vegetables, buy one, get one free, and more.
Marco's Pizza serves the tastiest, freshest, and hottest pizza bowls, wings, subs, and salads in the Tri-Cities. And we offer delivery, curbside pickup, and carryout. You know you want to call us in Johnson City across from ETSU.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is a moment that Tennessee fans have been waiting for a very long time. It's been since 1998 that the Vols have hoisted a national championship in football. That's a year that Vol fans remember pretty well.
Yeah, it put a cap on some of the greatest years the school has ever experienced.
For the older Vols, such as myself, those times are cherished memories that you're hoping to recreate. For the young folks, that success is something you're hoping to rekindle and get a taste of. Regardless, this Vols team is hungry for success. Head coach Josh Heupel has his team ready to take that next step.
This is, everything we worked for in the offseason. This was what we expected. This is what we grinded for, and it doesn't stop now. This wasn't the goal to just get to this game. There's a lot more games we got left to play, but we got to attack it the right way.
We understand what big games look like, what they feel like, the type of environments that you're going to play in. Certainly understand playing great opponents and the preparation, I think they have a great understanding of, and then the competitive makeup that you have when you get to game day.
Kenny, the teams that are playing in the first round of the playoffs, this really is a war of attrition. Mentally, what's going through your mind? Obviously, Ohio State, big game, but plenty of big games in the future if you win this one.
Yeah, this is a marathon. Unlike when they won the national championship, we were out in Arizona, and it's just one game. It was against Florida State. You win, that's it. You win here, now you got to go to the next step. And that step gets even harder because if whatever team wins, now they have to take on #1 Oregon. And then if you win there,
you got to keep going. It ain't the bowls that we're used to. It's not the bowls that we're used to.
Yeah.
And, of course, the game tomorrow, it's not going to be on Rocky Top.
But expect to see plenty of orange at the shoe. There's expected to be a massive turnout by the Vol faithful. Some even saying that they're expecting more than 30,000 people donning the orange and white deep in Ohio State territory. It might not be too expensive for fans heading to the game. Some ticket prices for the games are going as low for $70 if you can find them.
It's pretty awesome, man. I just want to turn that place orange. That's what makes this so possible. It's a playoff game, so it's the biggest game we've had on a college field in a long, long time for Tennessee. The fact that for a road playoff game, this is actually pretty close. We're only one state away from Ohio State.
What, 30,000? That's a lot of fans. Do you really think it's going to be 30,000 fans over there in Ohio State?
How, first of all, they were only allotted 3,500 tickets.
Yeah.
So you go take 3,500, and then you go 30 to 30,000.
The math is not math. We might need our statistician, Jarrett, to walk us through this.
The governor, the athletic director, the coach, they put out signs. They ran balloons on the back of, or banners on the back of planes that says, "Do not sell your tickets to Tennessee fans." So if we go from 35 allotted to 30,000, somebody wasn't listening. Coming up, we'll let you know everything that you need to know about the big game. Now it's time for Terry and myself to let you know who we think will win it. We'll have those predictions right after the break.
Are you unhappy with your IRA, CD, or fixed annuity? Call Mears & Associates to discuss ideas that will help your money grow.
It's here, the year-end clearance event at deals won't last. Hurry in for the year-end clearance event at Friendship Hyundai of Bristol and Johnson City.
We're dealing.
We're your friends and family. We're your neighbors. We're your local service experts. We know life happens, whether it's your heating and cooling, electrical, or a plumbing problem. When things don't go right, State Line Services is here for your home, your business, and most importantly, for you. For the gold standard in home services, trust State Line every time.
Decorations are already up, and Christmas music is playing early. You can feel the eagerness for time spent with family. More than ever, we're all excited for the magic of the holiday season. From all of us at Dempsey's Jewelers, we would like to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas. When you give the gift of jewelry, we are here ready to help you. May God bless you and keep you safe this holiday season.
At Marathon Quick Stop Markets, it's our goal to make your experience a great one. Quick Stop Markets provide sanitized and clean stores, well-lit parking lots, a friendly staff, and a large selection of products. Thank you for choosing Marathon, an American-owned company. Thank you for choosing Quick Stop Markets, a locally owned company. It is an honor to be a part of your busy day. Stop in at a locally owned Marathon Quick Stop Market today, where we make it easy to run in when you run out.
Food. It makes the holidays merrier. 'Tis the season for the fresh produce, the highest quality cuts of meat, and more. Nobody does food or the holidays like Food City.
This week, save on spiral sliced ham, $1.49 a pound when you spend $25 on store brand items. Russet potatoes, 10 pounds, $2.99. Lay's potato chips, Mayfield ice cream, or Libby's vegetables, buy one, get one free, and more.
It's here, the year-end clearance event at Friendship. All 2024 models must go. When they're gone, they're gone. The clock is ticking, and these deals won't last. Hurry in for the year-end clearance event at Friendship Ford of Bristol.
We're dealing.
Are you tired of borrowing money? Do you want better rates? Boss said this scooter isn't so bad. Yeah, but I'd rather be driving Grandpa's Porsche.
At Mears & Associates, we have the best rates for IRA 401k rollovers.
You know, we want to hear Rocky Top a lot because if we do, that means Tennessee is scoring. We've given you all that you need to know ahead of the big game. Now it's time for us to tell you who we think will win the game.
Kenny, you're East Tennessean, big Vols fan. I'm going to start with you. Who do you think is going to come out on top in this one?
I'm going to be honest. It worries me a little bit, Tennessee playing on the road, because I have seen them self-destruct on the road in the two losses earlier this year. The offensive line, it's hard to snap the football when you can't hear the quarterback or when you hear him clap his hands. But with that being said, I think Tennessee finds a way to win running the football behind Dylan Sampson. They win by the final of 20-17.
Kenny, I'll tell you my score. You know, I'm a born and bred South Carolina Gamecock.
Bring it on, Gamecock.
But
let's go.
I am all Vols. Good old Rocky Top. Rocky Top coming out on top. 21-14. Dylan Sampson, 3 touchdowns. Who cares who scores for Ohio State? Because they're not going to score more than the Tennessee Vols. Good old Rocky Top.
You just put a new line into the song. Rocky Top coming out on top.
Hey, look, Kenny, I got plenty of time to learn the song.
Don't forget the woo. Don't forget the woo.
The woo?
Yeah.
You got to teach me about the woo. I don't know the woo
I'll
yet.
teach you the woo.
But I'm learning. I'm learning.
Thank you for watching this special edition of Orange and White Nation.
And, of course, you can watch the Vols take on the Buckeyes tomorrow right here on ABC Tri-Cities at 8 p.m. Y'all have a good one.